If you've ever scaled on Meta, you already know creative volume wins, and in this debate we saw it again. So you don't scale by hoping the ad account will magically scale. You scale by setting input targets that every week you're gonna hit. Number of ads, number of landing pages, number of LTV tests that you're gonna test every single week. So this is just a quick take on what we saw in the debate between Jordan and Charlie. So the resolution was very simple. To profitably scale to 6 figures a day on Meta, you need high volume, diverse creatives. And Jordan won the debate by showing a live account spending 100K a day with 9,000 ads, and also showing Meta's own guidance that creative volume and diversity are more important than ever under Andromeda. And that's experience that we also have. We managed $37 million in advertising, and we see, I just took a very quick example of 2 other accounts we have. We have multiple ones like this. And took very quickly the number of ads they have. And the one has 4,800 ads, the other one has 12,000 ads. So you can definitely see that there is a correlation between the volume and the scale that these accounts have. These are not only like all live, some of those are not, but for sure you need to create a lot of ads to get to this scale. How do you actually win this game? How do you actually get to 100K a day in revenue, or ideally, as they were talking about, in profitable spend on Meta? First of all, what I tell everyone to do is just do what the winners do, and then do even more. Very similar to what Hormozy says. So if your competitors are launching 100 ads a month or more, then that should be your baseline. You should say, if they are doing this, I'm gonna do this and more. That shouldn't be like your maximum. Okay, I'll try to get there. Obviously, you have maybe more limited resources, so you have to do as much as you can with those limited resources and be smart and iterate on what's not working. But you have to win against them. You have to take some people from their part of the market. So you can win on volume, or you can win on win rate, on the percentage of your ads that actually become winning ads. And you should really monitor winning ads, like small winners, take $200 spend with a good CPA. A winner should be an ad that becomes the top spender ad, or at least one of the top 3-4 top spending ads. Then the other thing you can do is set goals and inputs. Most people don't even set goals, or set goals, but they don't track what they need to do to get to that goal. So maybe you put your goal as revenue or contribution margin or profit that you want to achieve in 1 year, in a quarter, and you can divide also the long-term goal in quarters and months. And then you have to say, okay, what do I have to do to get there? What do most brands do to get there? What did they do at my size? And you want to decide the number of new ads you do every week, a number of landing pages, number of CRO tests, and then you want to track them. And you want to see if those inputs are basically helping you to get to that outcome. And if not, you want to change your inputs, or how, like the process for how you do these inputs, how you create them. Doing more doesn't mean you're gonna have to do worse ads. You can still do ads with intent and everything. You have to track both of them. That allows you to not look at the strategy and look, okay, this brand did this and I want to copy that strategy, but to actually look at a process, to look at what is the common denominator between most brands that are scaling fast, and then you want to hit those targets, those inputs that will get you there. And when something doesn't work, you want to understand why with these inputs I'm not getting to that goal. Maybe there is a problem there. Maybe I need more inputs. I need to create more ads, or maybe I need to create better ads, more diverse ads. I have to change the process of how I create them. I have to teach the strategists I have or the agency to create these ads better. And that's how you want to work. So basically, as we said, volume, diversity is basically how you win the game. And you want to track that. Also, I did this post yesterday. It was so funny to me that Charlie was putting out Hormozy to argue against creative volume, because Hormozy basically tests, I think it tested thousands of ads for his launch. He also said that in the launch. And he literally recommends to test 150 to 750 ads a week in his ads book. And that's creative volume, and that's how you win. So the other funny thing to me was that a lot of what you see in Charlie content, in what he recommends, is basically a lazy way to get to the goal. Basically, he says, if you can get to the goal without showing actually proof, because most of the time it's not true, you can get to the goal without actually testing a lot of ads. But even if that was true, I don't like the message, because he says, yeah, let's try to do it in the laziest way possible. Let's just try to improve the LTV and that's it. And then it should scale. But first of all, it's not true. And then if you want to win, if you're a winner, you don't want to, like, you're not optimizing for saving a few hours. You're optimizing for winning. And if even if you actually had 10% of brands were scaling with few ads, but 90% are scaling with a lot of ads, if you have a winner mindset and you just say, I want to win this game, I want to actually scale, you're gonna do those ads. And that's what Hormozy says. And so just quoting Hormozy for something like that's so, like, it was so weird for me. And as we said, there are no brands that are actually scaling with just a handful of ads. So I think this is very important. That this is like one of the most important things. Like, just see what competitors do, and then do more and do better. I really liked also this post from the founder of Primal Queen. They're scaling very, very fast, and he's basically confirming what we already know, what I guess also most of you already know, that if you want to spend 6 figures a day, you just have to create a lot of ads, a lot of diversity. You're not like all these founders are not just wasting money because they want to. It's because they need to scale. And with Andromeda, there are a few changes. I did a video on Andromeda too. And before, you had some winners that were taking all the spend, but even then, like, and even now that happens. But before Andromeda was even more common. You had maybe one winner and was scaling for 2 years. And maybe that's also what Charlie was saying. Yeah, you find a winner, then you can just use that winner. But even then, like, you need to test a lot of ads to get that winner. And sometimes you have that winner, and yeah, it's gonna fatigue, and you don't know how big the next winner could be. And there are a lot of times where you already optimize the LTV, you already change everything, and also that's a process. So you're gonna continue optimizing everything else, but everything stays the same, and you launch a new ad, and the account completely scale. So that's why you have to put so much focus on that. And with Andromeda, the main thing is just, as Jordan said too, like, we want to do a lot of ads, but it's not just iterations of the same ad, because those ads are basically considered the same from Meta. So Meta is giving the same entity ID, even though the creative ID is different. The entity ID, that's what Meta sees in the backend, it's the same. So if you iterate too much, you have very similar formats. That's not too helpful now with Andromeda, unless you really do thousands of ads, but it's not that important. It's better to have maybe fewer ads, but more higher quality and just more diverse ads with just more intent when you create them. But still, you have to create a lot of ads. And it's volume of high quality, high intent ads. So what I think it's very important is deciding your goal, like your long-term revenue goal, contribution margin, profit goal. You break down by year, quarter, and month, as I was saying before. And then you want to search what are the brands that got to that goal, or to 100k a day in profitable spend, or to that exact goal? What did they do at that stage that I am now to get there? And not just one. That's the main problem. How to people look at one brand. Just look at most brands, and you're gonna find the common denominator, and you see, okay, everyone, like 90%, was testing at least this number of ads, this number of landing pages, and most of them have LTV that is higher than this. Most of them has this AOV, and when you understand those metrics, and we find very useful sometimes when we have a new niche or something, maybe do a consultation call with someone that already worked in that niche, just to understand what are the AOV, LTV, CPA average in that market. So that can be very useful. And then you just want to say, okay, this is what they do, like these are the inputs that these brands do. Then I want to do that, and ideally more if I can, if I have the budget too. And yeah, then it's gonna become something very simple. So this number of concepts every week, this number of total ads or like variations. I want to test this number of formats. I want to test this number of landing pages. I want to do at least one test on the LTV every week or every 2 weeks, a CRO test. And you have you don't have so many metrics, right? You want to decrease the CPC, and that's mainly with the creatives. So you increase the CTR. Basically, you increase the conversion rate by improving the creatives and improving the landing page. You can increase your LTV by increasing your average order value, or increasing the percentage of people that will buy again, or just the offer. And then yeah, you can add more products or a few other things you can do, but those are the main metrics you can work on. And so you just want to understand the inputs, and you want to track them. If you miss your goal for the week, for the month, whatever, then you want to understand, what should I change in my inputs? Should I do more? Should I do something different? Should I do, like, maybe should I talk with someone else that's making this work, and understand how can I actually do ads work, because my ads are not winning, so I have a problem. The win rate is low, or my landing pages are not actually getting good results. So I want to change that. But it's so crazy to think that you can get to a goal without even doing anything. So you want to get to the goal, I want to get to 1 million a month. And then what are you doing to get there? And a lot of times it's, yeah, I test some ads, I test some landing pages. How many? I don't know, it depends. Like, that's what winners do. And if you want to win, that's just the game you are playing. Very simple. Like, scale to 1 million a month. New customer ROAS should be more than 1.5. Ideally, divide this also by month and everything. Test this number of ads, this number of landing pages. This test every week or every month. We do something like this. So we do this in the agency. We try to implement for some brands where we have a growth partnership. And basically, you want to say, okay, who's the owner of this weekly target? And in this case, I have Mauro as the owner. And you want to add for every week the target, and then the actual. So basically here it can be something like, we had to test three concepts. We actually test 4, so that's perfect. Here we had 3 as target. We actually test only 2, so we missed target. And similar here. So for each weekly target, we want to track them. We want to do a weekly call and making sure we are getting there. And if we didn't meet the goal or the weekly input, so if we didn't meet the weekly input, we say why that happened and how we can prevent this to happen in the future. And if we didn't get to the goal, okay, so let's say I didn't get to 100k revenue this week, for example, or like we didn't get to the 700k a month in revenue we had as a target. Why that happened? Is that because of maybe seasonality, like something we didn't expect or something, or is it because the inputs that we set are wrong? Should we change the inputs, or should we change how we do those inputs. So maybe it's fine we do 5 concepts every week, 2 concepts every week, 10, 20, whatever. But I think we need to improve how we do those concepts. And so we just look at our process and we improve that. That will allow you to just look overall, and you can be the person that is the owner, the person that is responsible for these ones, but you still want to track them and see them weekly. And this will allow you to manage a process and not just to manage, not just to do random tasks to get to a specific goal. This was very helpful for me. It was very helpful for a lot of brands too. Especially in the agency, you have to be a bit more to track more these metrics. You have more people to manage and everything, so that becomes very, very important. I think this is very, very important for brands too. A lot of times you may have an agency or a person that is responsible for these metrics and you don't have to track them so well, but if you do this, it will definitely help you a lot. If you have any questions on this and how we implement this brands and everything, just let me know. I think this is very interesting.